Stop scrolling right now because what I'm about to reveal is something almost no one will ever tell you. Most men spend their entire lives trying to impress, trying to chase, trying to prove themselves, yet they fail over and over again. They don't understand why women lose interest, why respect disappears, and why attraction fades. But the truth is simple and it's brutal. It's not about what you do, it's about how you exist. There are 6 words, 6 truths, 6 ways of being that older men naturally say and do that make younger women melt without even trying. And if you watch this video until the end, I'm going to break them all down for you in a way you've never heard before. I promise you, this isn't another list of cliches, pickup lines, or fake confidence tricks. This is the real psychology of attraction, the kind that creates fascination, respect, and desire naturally. Once you understand these 6 truths, your presence alone will speak louder than any words you've been saying for years. You'll see the difference in the way women respond, the way people respect you, the way energy shifts the moment you enter a room. And here's the thing. Most men will never hear this. Most men will keep chasing, begging, and performing, never realizing that the power to attract, to inspire respect, to truly mesmerize someone lies not in what they do, but in what they are. If you're ready to stop wasting time, stop being ignored, and start commanding attention and fascination without desperation, then you need to watch this video all the way to the end. Because once these 6 truths are revealed, your life will change, your presence will change, and the way women see you will change forever. Trust me, this is the kind of knowledge most men spend a lifetime searching for, and you're about to get it all right here, right now. You want to understand attraction? Not just surface-level attraction, but the kind of presence that makes a woman stop in her tracks, the kind of respect that turns curiosity into fascination. It all begins with one simple truth that most men completely overlook: the value of her time. You see, time is the most precious resource anyone has, and especially for women navigating the demands of modern life, every moment carries weight. When a man recognizes that, when he genuinely honors it, something remarkable happens. He doesn't just speak words, he communicates respect, awareness, and presence, all in a single phrase. A man who says, "I value your time," isn't just making a polite statement. He's signaling something far deeper, that he sees her as a person, not an object, that her life matters, and that the moments she shares with him are worthy of intention. Most men never grasp this. They think attraction is about charm, about clever lines, about flashy gestures. They try to impress, to overwhelm, to win attention through noise. But a woman who's lived, who's observed the world, who's navigated the complexities of life, can sense desperation instantly. It's invisible yet unmistakable, and desperation is the fastest way to repel respect, admiration, and yes, desire. A man who respects time, however, flips this script entirely. He shows that he's grounded, that he's present, that he understands the weight of every minute. And when she feels that acknowledgement, there is an unspoken magnetism that cannot be replicated by money, status, or flattery. Think about it: when a man genuinely values her time, it's not only about punctuality or attentiveness, it's about the energy he brings into her space. He listens without distraction. He engages without seeking validation. He doesn't demand attention, he earns it by showing that the moments she spends with him are meaningful. This is the essence of presence, the quality that makes people unforgettable. Presence is not loud, presence is not performative, presence is quiet, deliberate, and deeply powerful. When a man operates from this space, women don't just notice, they remember. They feel the difference immediately, and it's almost like an internal recognition. This is someone who honors me, not someone who seeks to use me. There's also a psychological dimension to this, something most men never realize. Time is finite, and the awareness of its scarcity creates tension in human relationships. People are subconsciously evaluating, constantly asking themselves, is this moment with you worth it? Is this energy being respected? Am I being seen? When a man articulates through his words and his actions that he understands this unspoken equation, he taps into a deep sense of security and comfort. He signals that he is aware of boundaries, that he honors autonomy, and that he does not take her presence for granted. That signal alone, respect for time, creates trust, and trust is the foundation of attraction. Without it, all the charm in the world is hollow. With it, even simple interactions carry a gravitational pull, and it goes beyond words. Saying, "I value your time" is powerful, yes, but the real magic happens when it is lived consistently. A man who arrives when he says he will, who listens before responding, who does not interrupt, who is fully attentive in shared moments, demonstrates this respect without needing to explain it. Actions amplify words. Women notice, women feel it, and when this becomes a pattern, it creates a psychological resonance that is difficult to ignore. She begins to associate his presence with clarity, with reliability, with calm authority. These qualities are magnetic because they are rare in a world where most men are impatient, distracted, or consumed by ego. This principle also teaches men a profound lesson about self-respect. When you learn to honor her time, you simultaneously train yourself to honor your own. You realize that your time, too, is valuable. You cannot waste energy chasing, pleading, or negotiating for attention that is not freely given. You start to operate from a position of balance, from a recognition that mutual respect is not optional, it is essential. And when a woman senses this alignment, it triggers a deep instinctive admiration. It is not manipulation. It is not a tactic. It is an authentic ion of understanding human worth. That, more than anything, is what melts her resistance, captures her attention, and sparks fascination. There is a subtle art to this, which most men never master. It is not enough to simply be polite. You must communicate through every interaction that you understand the rhythm and flow of her life. You honor her commitments, her ambitions, her moments of solitude, and her choices. You recognize that she is a being with agency and that her energy is finite and precious. And in doing so, you elevate yourself above the noise of ordinary men. Ordinary men will interrupt, will demand, will try to impress. The man who respects time does none of this. He is patient, deliberate, and intentional. He shows that he is anchored, and this groundedness is intoxicating. When you consistently demonstrate this respect, something remarkable happens. A shift occurs in the dynamic. The interaction is no longer transactional, no longer shallow. It becomes a meeting of equals, a space where authenticity and attraction can flourish. She starts to feel safe, seen, and appreciated without needing to ask for it. And this, more than charm, more than status, more than clever words, is what makes her melt. Because every woman at her core seeks presence and respect. She wants to feel that her life, her energy, and her choices are acknowledged and valued. That acknowledgement is powerful. That acknowledgement is rare, and that acknowledgement is magnetic. So here is the challenge for you. Start observing, start listening, start acting. Say the words yes, but more importantly, live them. Show through your energy, your attention, and your behavior that you understand the value of her time. Show that every interaction you share is meaningful, that every word you speak carries weight. Stop chasing, stop performing, stop trying to impress. Instead, anchor yourself in the truth that respect for her time is a reflection of your own integrity, your own presence, and your own strength. Because when you master this, when you truly understand and embody it, women don't just notice. They are drawn, they are fascinated, they are captivated, not by superficial charm, but by the rare, undeniable presence of a man who understands what matters. And that, more than anything else, is the power of honoring time. Remember this. Every moment you share is an opportunity to communicate respect, to demonstrate value, and to create impact. Choose carefully how you spend it and how you allow others to spend theirs. Because time wasted is opportunity lost. but time honored is influence earned. Respect her time, value her presence, and watch as the world begins to respond to the man you truly are. You want to understand what truly captivates a woman. It's not grand gestures, expensive gifts, or rehearsed lines. Those things fade. What she remembers, what stays with her long after an interaction, is whether she felt heard, truly heard. Most men think they are listening, but the truth is, very few actually do. They hear words, they nod, they respond, but they are not present. They are not invested in understanding the person in front of them. And this is where most men fail, where they unknowingly destroy attraction before it even begins. Because genuine listening is not passive, it is active, it is deliberate, and it is magnetic. When a man asks a woman, "Tell me what you really think," and he waits, really waits, he communicates something far beyond curiosity. He communicates respect. He communicates value. He communicates that her mind matters, that her ideas, her opinions, her perspectives are not only welcome but essential. This is a rare quality, and it is irresistible. Think about it. In a world where women are constantly evaluated for appearance, judged for choices, and told how to feel, the opportunity to speak freely, to be acknowledged, validated, and understood is intoxicating. It is deeply human. And when a man genuinely engages with her mind, he moves beyond superficiality and enters the realm of connection. Listening is more than hearing words. It is perceiving meaning. It is noticing the subtleties of tone, the unspoken emotions behind the sentences, the pauses, the hesitations, the excitement, and the concerns. It is about understanding context, intent, and the underlying truth of what is being expressed. A man who masters this becomes more than a conversational partner. He becomes a sanctuary for expression. Women are drawn to this because it creates a rare sense of safety, a space where they can be authentic without judgment, without pretense. This safety breeds fascination because the woman realizes that this man sees beyond the surface. He sees her essence. And that, more than anything else, is captivating. Psychologically, genuine listening taps into something primal. Humans crave acknowledgement. We crave validation, not in the form of flattery, but in the form of recognition that our thoughts, feelings, and experiences matter. When a man demonstrates that he can listen, that he can absorb, that he can and reflect, he activates a deep sense of trust. Trust is the foundation of attraction. Without it, charm and confidence are hollow. With it, even a quiet conversation becomes powerful, even a small gesture resonates. Listening is not passive, it is active influence. It signals awareness, intelligence, empathy, and emotional maturity. These qualities, when embodied naturally, are magnetic because they are scarce. Consider how most men approach conversation. They speak to impress, they dominate dialogue, they offer advice prematurely, they interrupt with their own stories, they seek validation for themselves, not understanding for the other. A woman senses this instantly. It is exhausting, it is draining, it repels. But a man who listens differently, who pauses, who allows her to lead the exchange, who responds thoughtfully rather than reflexively, creates a contrast so stark it cannot be ignored. He becomes memorable not because of what he says, but because of how he allows her to feel. This principle also aligns with a deeper philosophical truth. Understanding precedes influence. If you want to be respected, admired, and desired, you must first understand. If you want to have impact, you must first listen. When a man practices genuine listening, he is not just collecting information. He is building relational intelligence. He is learning the rhythms of her mind, the patterns of her values, and the essence of her priorities. He becomes attuned to her without manipulation, without games, without pressure. And that attunement, that alignment, is magnetic. It is also important to understand that genuine listening is not a tactic. It is not a strategy to make her like you. It is a mindset, a way of being. It requires humility, patience, and emotional regulation. It requires setting aside ego and curiosity for control. A man who can listen without interruption, without judgment, without planning his next line is demonstrating a mastery of himself that is rare. And women sense this mastery. They feel it. It resonates on a level that words cannot describe. It is subtle yet powerful. It creates admiration without effort, respect without demand, fascination without manipulation. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice this principle. When she speaks, give her space. When she pauses, allow silence. When she expresses uncertainty, hold presence. Reflect rather than respond immediately. Ask questions that invite depth, rather than confirm your assumptions. Show that you are engaged not just with her words, but with her mind, her values, her perspective. This is where conversation becomes connection, and connection becomes attraction. There is another layer to this. Listening well communicates confidence. Most men are so busy trying to impress that they fail to notice the simple power of restraint. By listening first and speaking second, a man shows that he does not need to dominate or perform. He demonstrates that he trusts himself, that he trusts the interaction, and that he values the contribution of the other person. This kind of confidence, grounded in humility and attentiveness, is far more compelling than any display of bravado or charm. It is quiet, unshakable, and deeply attractive. Furthermore, genuine listening creates emotional resonance. Women are emotional beings, and they are constantly assessing whether a man can understand and respond to emotional currents. By listening fully, a man signals that he can navigate these currents without fear or avoidance. He becomes someone they can share their thoughts with, someone they can explore ideas with, someone they can feel safe with. That combination of intellectual engagement and emotional security is rare. It generates fascination, admiration, and yes, desire. It is also worth noting that listening fosters long-term respect. Attraction based solely on appearance, wealth, or charm is temporary. It fades when the initial novelty wears off. But when a man demonstrates that he can engage deeply, reflect thoughtfully, and honor the perspective of a woman, he builds a foundation of enduring respect. And respect is a magnet that continues to pull long after initial impressions are gone. Women remember the men who listened. They remember the men who made them feel understood. They remember the men who made space for their minds and their voices. That memory is powerful. It shapes how they perceive the man in every future interaction. So here is the truth that most men never hear. Attraction is not created by speaking more. It is created by listening more. It is created by valuing her mind, honoring her voice, and demonstrating that you are present fully without distraction, without agenda, without ego. The man who masters this skill becomes rare, memorable, magnetic. He becomes someone who is not easily forgotten, someone who inspires admiration, respect, and fascination. And this does not require perfection. It requires intention. It requires awareness. It requires a willingness to slow down, to pause, to reflect, to absorb every company. Conversation is an opportunity to practice this skill, to demonstrate genuine interest, to honor her perspective. Over time, this practice transforms not only your interactions with women, but your presence in the world. You become a man of depth, patience, and gravitas. And these qualities, far more than charm or wealth, make you unforgettable. So here is the takeaway. Simple but profound. Start listening. Stop speaking to impress. Stop thinking about your next line. Stop trying to perform. Instead, ask, pause, reflect, and respond with intention. Let her know through your presence and your attention that her mind matters, that her perspective is valued, that she is truly being heard. Because when you do this consistently, you do not just capture attention, you create connection. You do not just spark attraction, you command respect. And that, more than anything else, is what melts a woman's resistance and leaves her fascinated, inspired, and drawn to the man who truly listens. If you want to truly understand what makes a woman melt, you need to understand this one principle: confidence is far more powerful than pursuit. Most men operate under a simple illusion that attraction is created by chasing, by impressing, by proving themselves repeatedly. They spend their energy trying to be seen, heard, and acknowledged, often in ways that come across as desperate or needy. And women sense it instantly. There is nothing more unappealing than a man who chases without balance, who measures worth by the attention he receives. But there is something entirely different, something almost magnetic, about a man who exudes calm certainty, a man who does not chase but naturally attracts. First thing you need to realize is that chasing and confidence are opposites. Chasing is a form of insecurity. It signals lack. It signals need, dependence, and sometimes even fear of rejection. Confidence, on the other hand, is rooted in self-assurance. It is knowing your worth, your presence, and your values, independent of external validation. A confident man does not need to prove himself to anyone because he has already proven it to himself. And this distinction is subtle but monumental. Women do not respond to neediness. They respond to presence, to grounded certainty, to a man who moves through the world with composure and clarity. Now, consider what happens when a man operates from this place of calm certainty. He speaks deliberately. He moves deliberately. He engages deliberately. He is not rushed. He does not act out of fear, impatience, or compulsion. There is an energy to this that women feel immediately. It is unspoken but unmistakable. She may not be able to articulate it, but she recognizes the difference between a man who needs her approval and a man who is complete with or without it. And this recognition triggers fascination. Because attraction is not a transaction, it is a resonance. It is not about forcing connection, it is about creating space for connection to emerge naturally. Confidence without chasing also requires a deep understanding of boundaries. A man who chases without awareness often ignores boundaries, presses too hard, and overwhelms. A confident man, by contrast, respects space, honors autonomy, and communicates desire without pressure. This distinction is crucial. Women are inherently attuned to energy. They sense when a man is operating from need, from fear, from ego. They also sense when a man is operating from strength, presence, and self-possession. The latter is rare, and rarity is magnetic. There is a psychological principle at play here that most men overlook. Humans are wired to respond to stability, consistency, and security. When a man chases erratically, he creates emotional turbulence. She experiences uncertainty, tension, and stress, emotions that do not foster attraction in the long term. But when a man exhibits calm confidence, when he communicates interest without urgency, when he allows interactions to unfold organically, he creates psychological safety. This safety allows her to relax, to engage, to open herself fully. And when she opens herself fully, fascination turns into admiration, admiration turns into desire, and desire becomes an enduring connection. Confidence without chasing also teaches a profound lesson about self-worth. A man who chases desperately ties his value to someone else's response. He gives away his power by relying on external validation. A man who exudes confidence understands that his worth is intrinsic, not conditional. He knows that attention is not earned through force, but through presence. He knows that attraction is not demanded, it is invited, and this understanding transforms every interaction. A woman feels the difference because energy is communicable. She feels his grounded certainty, his composure, and his ability to remain himself, and it creates an irresistible pull. It is also important to understand that this is not arrogance or detachment. Confidence without chasing is not about being cold, aloof, or dismissive. It is about being fully present while maintaining equilibrium. It is about expressing desire without attachment. It is about showing interest without neediness. A man who masters this communicates that he values himself and, in doing so, models respect for the other person. He communicates, without words, that he is complete, capable, and worthy, and that interaction with him is a privilege, not an obligation. This subtle energy is far more compelling than any line, gesture, or performance. Consider how most men misinterpret attraction. They believe they must fill every silence, answer every message immediately, and demonstrate proof of interest at every turn. In doing so, they create a dynamic where she holds the power, often unconsciously. Confidence without chasing flips the dynamic. A man who embodies this principle does not rush, does not plead, and does not seek validation. He operates from his own center, allowing the interaction to unfold naturally, and women recognize this almost instantly. There is an elegance to this approach, a subtle dominance, not rooted in control but in self-possession. Philosophically, confidence without chasing is a lesson in energy alignment. Everything we communicate is energy before it is language. Neediness communicates imbalance, scarcity, and tension. Presence communicates alignment, abundance, and clarity. Women respond to energy long before they respond to words. A man who chases without confidence is speaking from scarcity. A man who attracts naturally is speaking from abundance. And abundance is magnetic, it is attractive, it is unforgettable. This principle also requires patience and restraint. Most men are conditioned to act impulsively, to seek immediate gratification, to pursue relentlessly. Confidence without chasing requires the ability to pause, to reflect, to observe, and to respond deliberately. It requires emotional regulation and awareness of timing. But the payoff is enormous. A man who embodies this principle creates space for genuine attraction to develop. He does not force it, he allows it to emerge naturally. And when it does, the connection is far stronger, deeper, and more enduring than anything that can be manufactured through pursuit. Furthermore, confidence without chasing communicates integrity. It signals that a man is not motivated by manipulation or desire for approval. It signals that he operates according to his own values, standards, and sense of self. Women are drawn to men who demonstrate integrity because it is a foundation for trust, respect, and admiration. A confident man does not need to impress anyone because he has already impressed himself. This self-alignment creates a quiet authority that is far more powerful than any performance or attempt to gain attention. The effect of mastering this principle is profound. Women do not just notice a man who exudes confidence without chasing. They are drawn to him, captivated by his presence, and fascinated by his energy. They feel a sense of security, admiration, and curiosity simultaneously. They are inspired by his composure, challenged by his self-possession, and fascinated by the balance he maintains. And this fascination is sustainable. It does not fade with time because it is rooted in authenticity, not performance. So here is the truth that most men will never fully grasp. Chasing creates resistance, neediness destroys attraction, and desperation undermines respect. Confidence without chasing, on the other hand, creates fascination, admiration, and desire. It is not something that can be learned superficially. It is a way of being. It requires self-awareness, self-mastery, and deliberate presence. It requires understanding that attraction is not about forcing attention, but about embodying value. And here is the final takeaway. Stop chasing. Stop proving. Stop seeking validation. Stand firm in your presence. Operate from certainty, not urgency. Communicate interest without attachment. Allow interactions to unfold naturally, and trust in the power of your own worth. When you do this, you will not only capture attention, you will command respect. You will not only inspire curiosity, you will ignite fascination, and you will not only be remembered, you will become unforgettable. Because a man who attracts naturally without chasing embodies a principle far greater than charm or status. He embodies the power of presence, self-possession, and authenticity, and that, more than anything else, is what makes women melt. If you want to understand why some men captivate attention effortlessly, you need to recognize the power of experience and wisdom. This is not about boasting or telling stories to impress. It is not about showing off achievements or flaunting past conquests. True attraction lies in the quiet strength that comes from living fully, making mistakes, learning, and rising above them. Experience is magnetic. Wisdom is rare, and when a man combines both, he creates an aura that is impossible to ignore. Women are instinctively drawn to it because it signals maturity, stability, and a depth of character that cannot be replicated by money, charm, or superficiality. Most men underestimate this. They chase youth, they flaunt status, they try to appear flawless. They hide mistakes, pretend to know everything, and perform endlessly for approval. But a woman senses authenticity instantly. She can feel the difference between a man who has lived, reflected, and grown, and a man who is still struggling to understand himself. There is a subtle energy to someone who carries their experiences as lessons rather than burdens. It is calm, grounded, and confident, and that energy resonates deeply because it signals reliability, intelligence, and emotional stability, all qualities that create fascination. Experience, at its core, teaches perspective. A man who has faced failure, rejection, and challenges knows that life is complex. He does not panic over small setbacks. He does not overreact to minor inconveniences. He understands nuance, he navigates complexity, and he approaches situations with a measured mind. This quality is inherently attractive because it signals that he can handle the unpredictable nature of life without losing control. Women are drawn to men who exude calm in the storm, who have endured difficulties and emerged stronger, who have depth beyond superficial charm. It is a kind of magnetism that is quiet, subtle, yet undeniable. Wisdom amplifies this magnetism. Experience alone can teach lessons, but wisdom is the ability to integrate them meaningfully. It is knowing what matters and what does not. It is understanding timing, energy, and priorities. It is the ability to offer insight without dominating conversation, to give advice without imposing, to influence without control. A man with wisdom does not speak to show power, he speaks to illuminate understanding, and this creates a unique dynamic. Women feel challenged intellectually, supported emotionally, and understood instinctively. That combination is rare, and rarity is fascinating. There is also a psychological dimension to this. Humans are attracted to competence and mastery because they signal stability and reliability. When a man demonstrates that he has learned from life, that he has faced difficulties and adapted, he conveys competence in navigating complexity. This does not need to be loud or performative. In fact, subtlety is far more effective. A calm anecdote, a thoughtful reflection, or even a quiet demeanor can communicate far more about a man's character than endless boasting ever could. Women respond to these signals instinctively because they recognize the security and maturity embedded within them. Experience and wisdom also create a sense of trust. Most men try to impress women by performing or overcompensating. This creates tension and skepticism. But a man who has lived and learned communicates authenticity effortlessly. There is no pretense. There is no need to prove anything. He is who he is, and that authenticity creates comfort. Women feel it even if they cannot articulate it. It is the difference between a man who is always seeking validation and a man who has already validated himself. The latter inspires admiration, respect, and yes, fascination. Another key aspect of experience is the ability to navigate conversation and emotional energy effectively. A man who has faced life's challenges knows how to listen, how to respond, how to hold space without controlling it. He understands timing, empathy, and boundaries. He can engage in meaningful dialogue without dominating or performing. He can connect deeply without pressure. Women are drawn to this because it communicates not only intelligence, but emotional sophistication. It signals that he is capable of navigating relationships with care, thoughtfulness, and balance, qualities that are inherently attractive and rare. Experience also teaches humility. A man who has lived and learned knows the limits of control. He recognizes that life is unpredictable, that mistakes are inevitable, and that growth is ongoing. This humility is attractive because it communicates authenticity. It signals that he is not trapped by ego or pride, that he can acknowledge flaws without shame, and that he can learn without defensiveness. Women are drawn to humility because it creates safety, trust, and emotional resonance. A humble, wise man does not need to dominate. He simply commands attention and respect through presence and depth. Philosophically, experience and wisdom connect to a deeper truth. Attraction is not superficial. It is not created by appearance or performance alone. It is rooted in character, depth, and understanding. A man who has learned from his experiences and integrated that knowledge into his being becomes magnetic. because he embodies what most men cannot. He is grounded in reality, he is emotionally intelligent, and he carries himself with a quiet authority that is irresistible. Women feel it instinctively, and it shapes how they perceive, interact with, and remember him. This principle also ties directly to self-confidence, confidence rooted in experience. E is far more compelling than confidence, rooted in superficial factors. A man who has faced challenges, endured hardship, and grown stronger carries an unshakable sense of self. He does not need validation or approval from anyone. His presence communicates stability, reliability, and mastery, and this creates attraction effortlessly. Women are drawn to men who have faced life and emerged stronger, not because of what they say, but because of the energy they exude. Another layer is the ability to mentor and inspire. Experience and wisdom allow a man to offer guidance, insight, and perspective without arrogance. He can elevate conversations, challenge assumptions, and create reflection. This is not about control, it is about contribution. Women are inspired by men who can elevate their thinking, who can offer depth without overstepping, who can connect emotionally and intellectually. This ability to inspire through lived experience is a profound form of attraction, one that endures beyond initial impressions or fleeting charm. Experience and wisdom also foster patience. A man who has faced trials understands timing. He does not force outcomes or rush processes. He allows events, relationships, and interactions to unfold naturally. This patience communicates stability and security, and it signals that he is not ruled by impulse or neediness. Women respond to this with trust and admiration because it creates a sense of reliability and calm. Patience, coupled with insight and presence, is magnetic. Ultimately, the power of experience and wisdom lies in integration. It is not about showing off, dominating conversation, or performing for attention. It is about living fully, reflecting thoughtfully, and embodying the lessons life has offered. A man who masters this creates fascination because he operates from authenticity, depth, and presence. He commands attention without demanding it, inspires admiration without arrogance, and attracts fascination without manipulation. Women sense this energy instantly, and it shapes how they perceive him in profound, lasting ways. So here is the final truth. Living, learning, and growing are not optional. They are essential. Every experience, every challenge, every mistake is an opportunity to cultivate depth, wisdom, and presence. A man who embraces this path becomes more than attractive. He becomes magnetic. He is not just noticed, he is remembered. He is not just admired, he is respected. And he does not just inspire fleeting desire, he creates lasting fascination. The lesson is clear: embrace your experiences, integrate your wisdom, and carry it with quiet strength. Speak thoughtfully, act deliberately, and live intentionally. The depth you cultivate within yourself will ripple outward, shaping every interaction, commanding attention, and creating attraction that is authentic, powerful, and enduring. Women do not just melt because of charm, they melt because of presence. They melt because of maturity. They melt because they sense a man who has lived, who has learned, and who has become something rare, something unforgettable. If you want to understand what makes a man truly irresistible, you need to grasp a principle that most men completely misunderstand. Women are drawn to men who respect independence and embody authenticity. This is not a superficial observation, it is a profound truth about human company. Connection and attraction. Many men spend their lives trying to impress, control, or influence others to gain approval. They adjust themselves, alter their behavior, and hide their true thoughts to fit an ideal. But a man who embodies authenticity and respects independence operates from a completely different energy, one that is magnetic, compelling, and unforgettable. Independence is not just about physical or financial autonomy, it is a mindset, a way of approaching life. It signals self-respect, self-awareness, and strength. A man who respects independence, both his own and hers, demonstrates that he understands boundaries, values freedom, and does not attempt to dominate or control. This understanding communicates trustworthiness, patience, and emotional intelligence, qualities that are rare and deeply attractive. When a woman senses that a man respects her independence, she feels safe, she feels valued, she feels seen, and this feeling, this subtle recognition, is what creates fascination, admiration, and desire. Most men fail to recognize the importance of independence because they are driven by neediness. They fear rejection, they fear being alone, and they overcompensate with attention, flattery, or control. They mistake attention for attraction and cling to every interaction as if their worth depends on it. But women can sense desperation instinctively. It creates tension, it signals insecurity, and it destroys attraction. Independence, by contrast, communicates balance. It shows that a man is complete in himself, that he does not rely on external validation for his self-worth. This energy is inherently attractive because it signals strength, stability, and authenticity. Thank you. Authenticity is equally important. A man who is authentic does not hide his opinions, desires, or values. He does not attempt to manipulate or conform to expectations. He communicates openly, acts deliberately, and stands by his principles. Authenticity signals integrity. It communicates that a man is trustworthy, grounded, and capable of forming genuine connections. Women respond to authenticity on a deep level because it creates emotional safety, fosters respect, and encourages reciprocal openness. When she senses that a man is genuine, she feels understood and valued, and that feeling sparks fascination that cannot be faked or forced. There is also a psychological principle at work here. Humans are attracted to consistency, transparency, and reliability. A man who embodies independence and authenticity communicates all three. His actions align with his words, his presence aligns with his energy. He does not shift to fit expectations or manipulate outcomes. This alignment creates a sense of security and predictability that women subconsciously crave. They feel a sense of trust. And with trust comes admiration, fascination, and attraction. Independence and authenticity are not just desirable, they are magnetic. Consider how most men approach relationships and interactions. They attempt to mold themselves to fit perceived ideals. They adjust their behavior to please, they suppress their opinions, hide their passions, and compromise their values to gain approval. This creates a dynamic in which attraction is conditional, fragile, and fleeting. Women sense this energy immediately, even if they cannot articulate it. It creates tension, uncertainty, and resistance. A man who is independent and authentic does the opposite. He stands firm in his values, he communicates openly, and he respects both his own and her autonomy. This approach fosters admiration, inspires trust, and creates enduring fascination. Authenticity also requires courage. It is not easy to express true thoughts, desires, and values without fear of judgment or rejection. Most men shy away from this because they fear conflict, rejection, or disapproval. But a man who expresses himself authentically demonstrates bravery, confidence, and self-possession. This courage is magnetic because it signals that he is unshakable in his identity. Women are instinctively drawn to men who can hold their own energy, who can express themselves without defensiveness, and who can maintain composure in the face of differing opinions. This is not arrogance, it is grounded authority. Independence and authenticity are also intertwined. A man who is independent does not rely on external validation to maintain his sense of self. A man who is authentic does not compromise his values to fit external expectations. Together, these qualities create a powerful dynamic. He attracts not by pursuing, but by existing fully present, and fully him. Self. Women sense this energy instantly. They feel the difference between a man who seeks control and a man who stands in his own power. This difference is subtle, yet it is profound. It creates fascination that is deep, lasting, and unforgettable. Philosophically, independence and authenticity are about alignment. They are about integrity between inner values and outer actions. When a man operates from this alignment, he communicates more than words can convey. His energy, presence, and behavior reflect a life lived deliberately and consciously. Women respond to this alignment instinctively because it signals security, reliability, and depth. They feel drawn not to a persona or performance, but to the authentic essence of the man. This is the kind of attraction that endures beyond initial impressions, beyond superficial charm, and beyond fleeting infatuation. Respecting her independence also requires listening and understanding. It is about recognizing her boundaries, honoring her choices, and celebrating her individuality. Women instinctively appreciate a man who does not attempt to control, dominate, or dictate. When a man respects her independence, he communicates that he values her agency and judgment. This creates trust, admiration, and fascination. It signals that he can hold space for her without diminishing his own presence, and that dynamic is inherently magnetic. Furthermore, independence and authenticity encourage mutual growth. A man who embodies these qualities attracts women who are also strong, independent, and self-aware. This creates a dynamic in which both individuals respect, challenge, and inspire each other. Relationships built on these principles are not transactional or superficial. They are rooted in respect, authenticity, and shared energy. Women are naturally drawn to this dynamic because it reflects balance, harmony, and depth, qualities that are rare, compelling, and unforgettable. There is also an emotional dimension to this. Women are drawn to men who do not seek to possess or control them. Independence signals freedom, security, and confidence. Authenticity signals honesty, integrity, and depth. Together, these qualities create a sense of safety and fascination. A woman feels understood, valued, and inspired, and that feeling triggers emotional attraction that cannot be manufactured or faked. It is genuine, instinctive, and enduring. Ultimately, independence and authenticity are not just qualities to cultivate, they are ways of being. They require self-awareness, courage, and deliberate presence. They demand that a man honors his own values while respecting the autonomy of others. They signal maturity, integrity, and grounded confidence. And these qualities, more than charm, wealth, or superficial appearance, make a man unforgettable. Women sense it immediately. They feel it deeply. They are drawn to it instinctively. So here is the truth to carry with you. Stop trying to be what others expect. Stop molding yourself to gain approval. Stand firmly in your independence. Express yourself authentically. Honor your values. Respect the autonomy of others. When you do this, you will not just capture attention, you will command respect. You will not just inspire admiration. You will spark fascination. You will not just be remembered, you will become unforgettable. Because a man who embodies independence and authenticity is rare, he is magnetic, he is captivating. And he is the kind of presence that women do not forget.